Hello, people of YouTube.
Hi.
I am American McGee.
I'm Martin.
And we are coming to you live from the underground lair, where I'm hoping that our sound setup is now sort of back to where it should be.
It should be.
I would ask the people in the chat, but I see that a lot of like live streamers and YouTubers, they have this problem where people in the chat will tell them, "We can't hear you. We can't hear you. Your mic turns off." And it's sort of it's a sort of joke. Because the people on the live stream don't know that they can't be heard. But I do trust Josie, and Josie has just said that we can hear you and you sound very good.
Woo!
Yay!
So not only is everything working, we sound good doing it.
And so this is a special EU live stream.
Ew.
It was partly inspired by my viewing of the news events in France and other parts of the EU and Britain.
I don't watch the news anymore.
They're out in the streets burning shit down, and so I do hope that everyone is safe and not too warm tonight.
Well, it's December. They're just
not
probably
on fire.
trying to keep warm.
Yeah, but you're going back there soon. It's the holidays.
Soon.
And where are you going exactly, Font Lord?
England. I can't tell them where I live. They'll come and stalk me.
He's afraid not only that if you know his last name, but if you knew where his castle was, you'd figure out that he is actually a lord.
It's up north.
So I'm going to be off in Thailand doing piratey things. There is a bit of pre-planning for ye olde pirate jam going on. So I'm going to be going and adventuring around a variety of different islands to find locations where we might take our pirates and do our jam.
All right.
That will be my Christmas.
It's good for some.
And along with that, I will also be visiting a place called Sriracha, which is a spicy hot sauce. That's what many of us know as a spicy hot sauce, but it's where we're hoping to put a new studio.
Yes. Do we have the map?
I don't have the map handy, but I can make it pop up. For those of you who maybe not caught the live streams recently, you may not know, but we are in the process of going out and looking at a place where we would build a new studio. And the point of that new studio would be to build 3 games. The first of that is based on Out of the Woods. So we did run a successful Kickstarter some time ago for a thing called Out of the Woods, and that is about to that's about to ship. It's a card game. There it is in the warehouse.
Look at them.
There it is, a pallet full of games. But we have an investor, potential investor. Let's be clear. He's a potential investor. Until they invest, till the money's in the account, they're just a potential investor. But a potential investor who'd like to see us turn Out of the Woods into a digital game.
Yeah.
And so at around the same time that we're actually shipping the physical products to backers around the world, I'm going to be going to Thailand to look at this place where we might put a new studio, the Eastern Economic Corridor in Thailand. And the first project would be Out of the Woods, the digital version of the game.
Which already kind of exists.
What's it called?
It's on Tabletop Simulator.
Right.
Not spoken to, what's his name? Marcus Raven.
For quite a while.
He helped us do that. So if you've got Tabletop Simulator, have a look.
Well, I think this would be that's sort of a very literal translation. This would probably have a bit of kind of more mobile mechanics included.
A little bit.
Could
no
be.
pay to win.
No pay to win. That's
no microtransactions.
Nobody likes that stuff.
Colorful Core. Super Chatters. First super chat of the stream. Thank you for that. Apparently they were going to go to bed early, but not now, I assume.
Well, that might be because Colorful Core in the past did win a prize, if I remember correctly.
Let me have a look
and
at
so
my notes.
Probably addicted to it's a sort of pay to win. You come here, you invest time, you hang out in the chat, and you have a chance to win things. Now, tonight's prize, we are going to continue, as we have done with our Western watchers, our viewers. We're going to give away 4 copies of the Out of the Woods card game. And that way we're spreading Out of the Woods. Oh, the cards are flying out.
Oh no, design flaw.
Design flaw. You can't open it. Anyway, so we're going to be giving these away. These are the finished card games of Out of the Woods.
Yeah.
Turned out very nice. So that is going to be what we're doing tonight for a prize, and that might be why Colorful Core decided to come back, is to get... I think that was a her, Colorful Core.
I can't remember.
I can't remember either. But anyway, so these are some of the cards from Out of the Woods. This is potentially the first game we're going to make at the new studio in Thailand. And this is tonight's prize. We'll give this away a couple times. Now, we do have a little bit of a sad news. That is, we cannot spend that much time with you tonight because we actually have something planned about an hour from now. So we have to do a 1 hour stream tonight, get everything told, and then run away.
Love you and leave you, as they say.
That's right. Well, it is the holiday seasons.
It is.
What are you going to do? So what else are we going to do at that studio? Well, there is a second game we're talking about making, and that is tentatively called Jibs. And it is an old school deathmatch shooter type of game. And I had some art here, but I can't find it.
The folder is still on the desktop.
And of course, the third game, the big game that we want to make at that studio is the new Alice game.
Indeed it is.
And we're working on all kinds of crazy art.
It's excellent, this. I saw this one the first time, I think it was like a day or two ago. I was just browsing our art folder. I'm like, wow, look at that. It's a good one.
Chaussette is in the chat saying, it is 6 a.m. Jesus Christ. That is, I think that's what time Jesus came out of that cave, was around 6 a.m. He rolled that rock out of the way and he was like, right, I'm off. Got the world to save. So this is a Cheshire Cat concept from our good friend Omri. And this is going towards the concepts and design for Alice Asylum.
Yeah.
We're getting a ton of really cool art and design stuff done for Asylum.
We really are. In the future, the Art of Alice Asylum book is going to be amazing.
It's going to be fantastic. We have all this art getting made, and we did a kind of interesting experiment this week. That was the crowd design process. How did you think that went?
The Discord doodah, it went okay, didn't it? I was assuming there would be terrible technical issues because we didn't really test the system that much before we actually went live. But yeah, it went well. We got a bunch of people in there listening to us. We got a few of our patrons and Discord peeps online to chat with us and talk about their ideas. And yeah, the hour flew by pretty much. It was it's pretty good. We shall keep doing it.
Well, we went through a page. That's great. So begins the technical difficulties. We knew they would arrive.
Look at that. Dropped frames is still 0.
So we went through a page on the Asylum wiki, which is filled up with ideas that have been submitted in large part by the community here on YouTube and, of course, over on Patreon. There is a whole drop-down list filled with these ideas, and I think the first one that we looked at was whether or not there could be like an Easter egg for Lulu. That's my dog, many of you know, for Lulu in the game. But we went one by one, and we talked about all these design ideas. And we listened to the community as they discussed their thoughts and feedback on whether or not we include these in the game.
Yep.
And it worked really well.
Yeah. We have this kind of the rule. We didn't want to get hung up on any one thing. We wanted to keep it flowing.
Right.
Like 5 minutes per thing. And I thought we stuck to that pretty well.
I think we did a really good job. We moved through it quickly. We got a lot of good ideas. I was very impressed with a few of the patrons that were there on Discord, and they were opened up their microphones so they could talk and kind of go into more detail about their design ideas. It worked really well. They as sort of creatives communicating their ideas did a very good job of communicating what it was that they had in mind for some creative or design element. And we ended up recording all that. You can actually go onto YouTube, onto my YouTube channel, and you can find the crowd design episode 1 video and give a listen to that.
Yeah. Blade Siskadol is testing his super chat functionality on the laptop. It's working. Your laptop is functioning well. So
yay.
Thanks for that. I had a couple of people above that asking about that Cheshire image, why he is so big. And I believe there is some text in this image.
There is. So, I'm a little concerned about how much our EU audience is aware of what we're doing with the story. And that is that Asylum is, of course, going back to a period where Alice is only 13 years old. And we recently had some artwork done that I think does a really good job of representing Alice as this much younger character. And so if you take a look at this, so this would be Alice at 13, let's call her the star, the protagonist, the main character of Alice Asylum. And so we're going to start Asylum, it sounds like, kind of right after the end of Alice Madness Returns, with that older Alice. Oh, and by the way, spoiler warnings. Spoilers. If you don't want to hear spoilers, hang up now, or whatever it is
Look
you do on the internet. Poke your ears out. So the idea is that adult-ish, sort of Alice Madness Returns Alice, is going to end that game, that adventure. She's just killed Bumby and walked off into Lunderland. But at some point, we revisit her and we see that she sees that something's missing. There's a chunk, there's a piece of her, something amiss. And so she ends up traveling back in her memory in time to when she was in the asylum. And she's on a mission to find the missing piece. And so she follows this Alice. This is 13-year-old Alice. She follows her on the adventure, which is contained within Asylum. And it seems like the battle is all about confronting the shadow. And so we actually have another video that we've just put up from last week that kind of describes this in some detail. But the point about the Cheshire is that everything that we're seeing is going to be from the perspective of this character at this size. So she's smaller. And Omri had the, I think, relatively decent idea. Not all of his ideas are... This one was good. He had the idea that when he was a kid... He's got it written right here. Can you do an Omri voice?
I've never heard Omri in my life.
Well, you pretend to be Omri.
Hello, I'm Omri. When I was a kid, my sister seemed so much larger than me. She's 5 feet. I'm actually taller than her now, but I remembered her large, tall. So Cheshire is about the size of Alice in the book. So if she visits that place again, he might not have an age. He might not eternal. He might be eternal and still seem very large to her. So it makes sense to Cheshire appear bigger.
Exactly. And I actually experienced this recently because I came over to visit you in what is our old neighborhood. And even with just a few months of separation between living in that old neighborhood and having moved here to this larger house in this neighborhood that's much more open and spacious, I felt that the old neighborhood was very small, very tiny. It was like going back to your elementary school and the whole place feels really small and weird, right?
Yeah.
But I think what Omri's doing here, of course, because it's not adult Alice who's going back and seeing this, kind of is. This is the brain twist, because it is adult Alice going back to meet child Alice and to replay those events, but those events are played through the perspective, the eyes of child Alice. So, child Alice will have remembered the Cheshire Cat as being a lot bigger. And also younger. But not to the point where previously we had the sort of Cheshire Kitten. Remember that?
I still love Cheshire Kitten.
Well, we have a Cheshire Kitten. Jin did a Cheshire Kitten. He's cute. I like him. She did this for the Roger Jackson interview.
When somebody asked him to say something inspiring.
And he,
literally said something inspiring.
Something inspiring.
Whoa, would you look at that?
Wow.
Look at that over there in the chat.
Insane.
That bloody panda. Thank you very much for that. It's awesome. They say, glad to catch you live, American. I would really enjoy more EU streams because being awake at 2 a.m. for all the other destroys my sleep cycle. Also, perhaps a design chat for EU patrons would be good, as I feel a lot of us across the pond want to get involved as well.
I think that's a brilliant idea. First off, thank you so much, That Bloody Panda. TBP, sending us £100.
100 quid.
100 quid, as the Martin Brits would say.
Yeah.
Glad to have you here. And yes, well, 2 a.m. for the others would destroy your sleep cycle. And as we discussed in a recent chat about depression, you need to maintain a regular sleep cycle in order to maintain your sanity and happiness. So don't screw up your sleep cycle for us. I think that a design chat for EU patrons is absolutely in order.
We shall.
That was the first one. That was the first design chat. And as Martin said, it was a little shaky. We were afraid there would be big technical challenges. But in the end, it actually turned out really nice.
It did.
Knowing that, I will say this. Those of you who are in the EU and who are interested in a design chat, do raise your hand over on Discord and let it be known that you'd like to mod one of those chats, because it will require EU mods.
Right.
Because by now, all of our US mods who were officiating that chat, they're all sleeping.
I think Josie's awake.
Josie's awake, but Josie's mental.
Right.
Also, I thought Josie was in the UK.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Well, then there you go. She can join, but she wasn't in on the last design chat.
Right.
That you just proved my point. All right, Martin. Martin question. So, good idea. Yes, That Bloody Panda. We are going to do an EU design chat. Perhaps Josie can help to officiate that chat.
Josie's down with it.
Yeah, there you go. And so we would be looking at things like this. We'd be talking about, does this make sense? Do we like this? Do we like this cat concept? Now, I do.
I do.
One of the things that popped up in my mind when we were looking at this was the idea that you've got the Cheshire Cat in this sort of very large, and I think to Alice's point of view, much more standoffish, much more potentially dangerous presentation. So she'd want even more so to cling on to her white rabbit.
Yes.
You've got a white rabbit there.
There's like 3 rabbits in front of me.
Well, don't grab the horrible, scary, broken one.
Okay.
No one wants
the
to
normal
hold on to
one.
that. The normal one. That's the normal one. That's the one we like. That's this one.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think having the Cheshire Cat in that big kind of he's too much, he's too scary format would mean that Alice would cling even more to the white rabbit.
Yes.
And we did talk last time about there being like a bit of a conversation.
Remind me again.
Well, between the white rabbit and the Cheshire Cat and even
yes.
the Nutcracker. because they all
Yes.
have a voice.
That's right. I think it would be great. It's been done in other games, banter as you travel. I think it works really well.
Right. Well, I think that the Cheshire Cat in that large format works with that concept. And it also goes somewhat hand in hand. We talked about this Nutcracker soldier. Did you have nutcrackers as a child?
We had devices for cracking nuts at Christmas, but not in soldier form.
But you know the origin of this.
You put a nut in its mouth, do you not?
Have you ever seen the Nutcracker Suite, the ballet?
No.
No. The dance of the sugar plum fairies and...
I mean, I know of it. I don't ever recall seeing it anywhere on telly or while I was out and about.
I see.
So I'm just not cultured, I guess.
Well, it's not about cultured, but this is another idea from Omri, and he's done up the Nutcracker. This is kind of a weapon concept, but I think it's also potentially a companion. Now he's shown it as there being kind of a box of them, and you let them out, and then they cover the enemies. They're like shooting.
I like it.
You know what's missing though is Joey's sort of
pa.
This is good though. I think he's got kind of a drill.
Corkscrew?
Is that a snake?
It's a corkscrew. I'm sure it is.
Probably is. So he's got a bit of a corkscrew over here and a claw.
The claw game.
The claw. And so you could let these out of a box, and then they would go and crawl over an enemy. And I think this is a pretty cool idea. Now, what's going on there?
Selfie again.
Why does he do that?
I don't know.
Why does he always have her? Look, she's even... I think Omri's trolling us.
She's only missing duck face.
But he's like literally, he has her in here. He's sitting... I shit you not. Omri sits there drawing up these ideas, and from time to time he stops and he's like, just gonna have her take a selfie.
Why not?
Why not? They won't notice. Just have
we
her,
noticed.
Just have her. I'm surprised we don't have her like dabbing.
Don't give him ideas.
I'm sure somewhere in one of these images he's done it already. Dabbing.
Should we Google that? Alice dabbing?
Yeah. So this is the other end of the spectrum, though. This is sort of life size, normal size Alice with a giant Nutcracker. It's like a Big Daddy, actually.
I've just noticed.
Is it not?
No, it's sort of like the Nutcracker is doing the hand hover.
Is
where
it
like somebody gets a photo of someone famous at a convention, but they do the hand hover?
Omri, I love our artists. They put so much character into the art that they do. So someone even mentioned this. It looks like a Big Daddy Nutcracker.
Yeah,
that's great. This came up in the design meeting the other day, which was sort of about Easter eggs. And I said we want to be careful because there's a lot of fun we could have with the game, with inserting all of these in-jokes and, having a scene where like Alice in an idle animation actually stops and pulls out a cell phone and does a selfie with the Big Daddy Nutcracker, and no one would never know necessarily, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of cool stuff you could do, but
you want to keep the game sort of in the game, right? You don't want to take the player out of the game too much. It's not a comedy. It's not a game that can be self-referential. Referential.
But that was also in the wiki, wasn't it? Just have a separate section for nonsense.
Yeah.
But It would be a lot of effort for a joke that only a few hundred people got.
It would be.
If we did like load of Greg's junk stuff and...
Well, and I feel like the people who saw a joke like that didn't get it. They would just think like, this is an error, or this is a problem. Right?
Yeah. Maximiliana Benke.
Maximilia Bunka.
Yeah. EU love. Big fluffy Cheshire is amazing. Love him. He is good.
I assume she talking about this big fluffy Cheshire.
No, I suspect it's the other one.
You think it's the this one?
Yeah.
He's not very. He is a little more fluffy. It's a pretty good detail that he's done up his tail with a bit more fur on it. And he's put a little more fur on the body and the kind of tattoos, the stripes. I like this.
I do. I'm liking it.
I have to also say very clearly, I'm surprised. I'm surprised that I like this because I wasn't expecting to see a variation on the Cheshire Cat like this that worked for me.
Right. So
we do need though to kind of get some feedback from you guys in the chat and everyone over on Patreon. Is this the way we want to go? Do we like this large Cheshire?
People seem to be loving it in the chat.
I think it works.
I think it works.
Everyone,
do you concur?
Do you concur? Well, what we can do, because you know what time it is.
7:27.
It is contest time. So we're going to ask you to spam the chat with a yes or no. Does the big fluffy Cheshire Cat work? Yes
Colourful
or no?
Super chats. Give us a grumpy fluffy kitty.
I think this one can be grumpy. I think if we ask Omri to render him in a sort of an angry state, that can be done.
I think so.
Yeah. But it is contest and giveaway time. Very easy to win. You simply spam the chat with a yes or a no about a big fluffy Cheshire, and we're going to give you an Out of the Woods, even shipped all over the world to the EU. Yes,
Can't find my pen.
Yes. It's right here, Martin.
It's behind the little bunny.
There you go. There's a lot of crap.
A super chat going past Josie. Thank you for the super chat.
Thank you, Josie.
What I find interesting about the Cheshire Cat size visual is that Alice has suffered a lot. What may be scary to some may be average or normal for her.
Yes, this is true.
It is.
That works.
Does she look like she's suffering in that image? Is that what she meant?
Well, I think she's not necessarily referring to this because this is just a copy-paste of the standard blue dress Alice that Omri did. But I think her point is Alice has suffered a lot and she's seen a lot of effed up stuff. So for her to be side by side with this sort of big cat wouldn't necessarily bother her. Okay. This is partly what's written up in a lot of the notes that I'm sharing with RJ about the story, is that Alice has obviously been to Wonderland many, many, many times prior to the fire and to the asylum. And she's found solace and refuge there. And one of the things that RJ wrote was, let's be really clear that in previous visits, she might have been threatened, but she was never harmed in Wonderland. So she might have been kind of put on edge, but she was never in danger.
Okay.
Which kind of changes when we come back during Asylum, because we do find out that there is a sort of enemy, and that enemy it's herself. It's Shadow Alice. And so we've been talking quite a lot about Shadow Alice. But Shadow Alice brings a real danger.
Yep. I love that image.
So, contest time.
Nightbot,
Nightbot.
roll your magic.
Nightbot says Marilyn's Shadow.
Marilyn's Shadow.
Congratulations, Marilyn's Shadow _ Shadow.
Yeah.
Space _ Shadow. I'm not sure what that all signifies, but you have won. So the way this works is you email mysterious@americanmcgee.com, include your name, mailing address, phone number, tell us that you won a copy of Out of the Woods, and we will get that posted right off to you. Actually, we won't.
We could. Because,
It's the holidays.
well, yeah. You will get it at some point in the future.
This is true. Taylor is dying. So sleepy,
sleepy.
she says.
Well, Marilyn's Shadow hasn't replied yet.
That'll happen.
We'll see.
So,
We
there's a
shall
super
see.
chat here. Go on, Font Lord.
John super chats with £2. Thanks for that. Just saying the new chess fuzzy variant is pretty good. Mirroring pretty much what everyone's saying.
I think it's pretty good. I really like the new Chesh. I like this Shadow Alice that Joey came up with. I think that it, once and for all, has managed to really capture the sort of proportions of the young Alice face.
Yeah. Closer. Get closer.
I'm scared.
Closer.
I'm scared.
More.
It's really scary.
Ah!
It's super freaking scary. Ah! Okay. Sorry about that. It's late here. We're kind of tired. It happens. But she is creepy.
Yeah. It's a fantastic image.
It's gonna be the enemy that you fight, you confront. In the most recent notes that I wrote to RJ, I said this character needs to encapsulate the worst of Alice's imagination. The ruin, as it was in Madness Returns, the Queen and all of her tentacles, as it was in the first Alice, and I think all of the sort of dark and creepy, snaky, unknown, the sexuality, the perversion that's kind of lurking in Alice's subconscious, those things that have come from Bumby, but that she's, as a 13-year-old, very much unaware of and wants to remain unaware of. But this shadow senses and knows something about that adult world. And I remember as a child those things being quite terrifying to me. There was a kind of mystery and a darkness, but also a kind of terror. And that is this character. I'm thinking she's going to be pretty horrifying.
Is she going to like be an asshole personality-wise? Or just sort of, enigmatically evil?
I think what we need to do is, as the audience who are here and you and me, we've got to take ourselves back to what it was that was most frightening for us as children. And we're going to need to seek advice because obviously I'm a dude. I'm pretty sure you're a dude. Though we do call you Martina. But that's just a nickname. You're still a dude. There are a lot of things that I think girls fear that are very different, especially at this age, when compared to what boys fear. And I think one of the things we want to do here is try to capture. There need to be universal fears.
Yeah.
As children, we all had universal fears related to the loss or abandonment, the disappearance of our family, or the love or support that we got from our caretakers. But there were particular fears that girls might have had that boys didn't. Not all boys didn't. Not all girls had. But I think it's important to use that brush in some places on this character, to have that be what she's talking about in terms of the things, the fearful things. But, we've got a lot of very insightful people in our group,
in a
crowd design group
of insane children.
There you go. So
is it just me, or is the delay getting a bit more in the headphones?
The longer that the stream goes on, the worse the delay gets.
I'm taking these off because it's making it hard to talk. I'm interrupting myself in my head.
It's getting pretty bad.
Yeah. Oh well.
Well, so we will go out to our it's pretty bad. We're gonna have to look this up. OBS delay.
Yeah.
Very strange. But anyway, we're gonna have to go out to our crowd design group, and we're gonna have to figure out a way to integrate some of those fears into what it is that makes this character scary and horrible.
I think so. Just checking out the chat, sorry.
That's
I was
all right.
distracted. Looking at what people were scared of.
What do you have? Your eyes being poked out?
Nellie Luckett was scared of sleeping in a dark room with stuff hanging on the door. They could see figures in the hanging items.
Did you ever have a haunted house? I lived in a haunted house as a kid.
No. Not to my knowledge.
What
was haunted about your house?
Stuff moved. There were
Stuff
noises.
moves in
doors,
my house all the house.
Doors
because I
slammed.
moved it.
Yeah. So I think there's a couple, like Taylor has spiders. I think that there is something, if you read sort of the classical terrors, if it's the Jungian, the psychological dissection of our fears, the tarantula. There's a lot of that we can incorporate. And we can also this came up in the crowd design chat the other day about the teeth. Why did Alice collect teeth in Madness Returns and then use those as a kind of currency? It was because it turns out that teeth historically in myth have represented, if you dream of losing your teeth, it's represented the fear of death or the potential that you will soon die. So we want to kind of try to tap into those. Those are all parts of the collective subconscious. So we do want to tap into the archetypical, mythical fears.
So we ever remember having that dream
of your teeth falling out.
Yeah.
It's a thing. People worry about that.
I sometimes went through stages where I would dream about the same scary thing for like a couple of months in a row, and then I would move on to something else. For some weird reason, I had like whirlwinds, like tornadoes at one point, and there's like volcanoes, and obviously like people of our age, nuclear bombs. So yeah, I went through some stages of bad dreams, but never had the teeth falling out.
Well, Ina's talking about these days nightmares about losing teeth and looking for her boyfriend and not being able to find him. I have been having for some time now dreams about not being able to find my girlfriend. So there can be very specific reasons why that sort of thing happens. And, our dreams, oftentimes if you listen to psychologists, they'll say there is a kind of checklist you go down when you're depressed or when you're feeling things are off. And you start with the basics. We talked about this last week. Actually, you start with things like your diet, and then you look at things like your schedule. Are you getting up at a decent hour? Are you going to bed at a decent hour, not staring at your phone too much? Are you eating all right? Are you getting some exercise? But a lot of times then you do go and you look at your dreams. That is a very powerful place to look for the answer to why you're depressed or why things are busted in your head. So, if Ina, for instance, is dreaming of her teeth falling out and she can't find her boyfriend, without knowing her story, one might surmise that there is an issue between her and her boyfriend. Maybe she feels a loss of trust, or she's lost him in general. And then that's where you've got to look to sort of solve or deal with the problem.
Dream advice.
Dream advice.
But you weren't expecting that when you tuned in.
Dreams are very powerful.
Kuro Getsumeyami.
Good one.
Yeah. Sends what we believe are Danish krona.
I thought last time you said those were Donkey Kong
countries. Pretty sure that's not it. Okay. Thank you for that. We've never had any stories about Alice's interactions with other kids in her youth. We surely know she wasn't popular with Bumby's brainwashed kids in Madness Returns. I could imagine her being singled out.
So there is a little bit of reference to her interactions with, or the time she spent in either the hospital or the asylum in American McGee's Alice, in the first Alice in the casebook. And you do see or read reference to other children in the asylum at that time. I do think that Asylum, this game, is going to give us an opportunity to see a little more interaction with Alice at that time period. When we talked about Otherlands, actually, there was an idea that you'd find contemporaneous characters, people who lived at the same time and place as Alice, and then have her visit their minds. And there was actually an idea that Van Gogh, that's the one who chopped his ear off, right? Mm-hmm. Might have been in the asylum with Alice. He's only, if you look at the timelines in terms of birth dates, at the time that Alice would have been in the asylum, he only would have been a few years older than her. And so we could have written in a storyline where Alice ran into Van Gogh, perhaps, prior to the ear chopping, and that he, being an artist, helped her to somehow figure out a way to manipulate her imagination. And anyway, that's a whole nother, we're not going there. We're not going there. I'm just saying, yes, I do think Kuro Getsumeyami, I hope I said that right, that it would be good to see a little bit of interaction with the other kids, perhaps just in the asylum or from her youth. And so that could be kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have another super chat just popped up from Blade Siskadol. Have you had sleep paralysis? Happened a lot to me.
Have you? I have.
No, but I imagine it's pretty scary.
Yeah, I have had it, and I think a lot of people do have it. It's this sense of weight on your chest and an inability to wake up or to control your body. It's happened to me a few times.
I've had that in a dream. But it's one of those weird ones where you're dreaming and some spooky shit's going down, so you're trying to wake up and you can't quite do it, and then you wake up.
Yeah,
so it's kind of like sleep paralysis in my dream, not real life. Yeah, it doesn't sound fun.
Yeah, sleep paralysis can be really terrifying. I think it's they say it's one of the sources of people's sense that they've been kidnapped by aliens, and of course maybe there's a more natural explanation, which is that the state your body enters into, where it limits involuntary, or I should say it limits the voluntary movement as your brain enters a state of involuntary action, that is dreaming. You wouldn't want your limbs flailing around in the same way that they do when you're awake.
Yeah.
And so you sever the connection between the brain's ability to control your actual limbs versus what's going on in your imagination. But then there's that period where you're kind of in the half state of sort of woke up, but you can't move. Yeah, so.
Colorful Core is back again. I think stuff like disease could be terrifying to her, as it's everywhere and the cause of suffering and death. So there was a fair bit of disease back in the day.
Well, sure. I think there was plenty of disease back then. And of course, there was a fairly terrible lack of understanding about how germ or bacteria or any of these things worked. And so we can play around with that a bit. I think those types of ideas about diseased characters, about insects, about guts and blood, and I mean, these are all the kind of basic fears that kids have had and adults have had for ages. And of course, she also has that coupled with there's clearly something sexual going on in the story, and so we will have the slightest hints of that type of stuff in there, which of course can result in some fairly horrible kind of visual concepts.
Okay. Colourful Core super chats again to sort of flip suffering and death round to say death and suffering instead, and apologizes for it. It's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But thank you for the New Zealand money.
Right. Medical Potato asks, what happened to Alice Otherlands? That's actually literally
below the video.
Yeah, go click on the links down there. And I also think Nightbot pops up and tells you that from time to time.
Every now and then.
Every once in a while.
We haven't had that in a while.
We've not had that in a little while.
We used to have that a lot at the beginning.
That's why it makes me laugh. It's like, oh boy, I thought we'd put enough links and reminders to that. I think
I saw someone at the beginning of the chat say something along the lines of, I heard American McGee is making Alice 3. Can anybody confirm this? It was something like that.
That's great. So this is the latest from Alex Crowley, and he is doing an entire series of art prints that are black, white, and red like this, and he calls them...
what is it?
Dark Dichotomy? Dark... Now I forgot. Sorry, Alex. So he's done, obviously, this is Alice and her shadow self, but he's also done the Queen. He's done a Cheshire Cat, kind of a guide. Cheshire Cat. He's done the Rabbit, Card Guard. And apparently now he's working on the Mad Hatter. Is that right?
Yep, that is his next one, which may very well finish the series.
I think that might finish the series. He's done near 6 of them.
6 or 7.
Quite a few.
Yeah.
So this is actually the poster that's being sent out to our patrons.
Yes, this is the one that's going out this month.
But
however,
not.
We have, this month, but not.
You want to explain that? Porch Pirates.
You know, it's just Porch Pirates,
Porch Pirates.
The holidays, and it just...
And we're traveling,
and it's just not a good time to be trying to pack up hundreds of posters. So, in the latest Patreon, you asked kindly if people would mind waiting.
Yes.
And I think, even though you only posted it not long ago, a few people said they didn't mind.
Yes.
So, we're going with that.
Well, I actually read that quite a few packages go missing. A larger percentages of packages go missing around this time of year due to porch pirates. And
makes sense.
That is people taking packages off the front porches of other people, and that's terrible. It's kind of funny too, living in China because and thinking of that concept, because we see packages out in the open on the backs of these delivery bikes all the time, and yet I think that theft of these kind of packages must be relatively infrequent. Maybe we're wrong about that, but I get the feeling that, well, in general, theft and crimes in China are infrequent because there's cameras literally everywhere.
There are.
But in the U.S., it seems that this is a fairly common problem. It's like 30% of people who receive packages experience porch piracy.
30%.
Yeah.
I've seen the YouTube videos of people trying to get back at porch pirates.
I love those.
Putting little shotgun
phenomenal
pellets, little noisemakers underneath boxes.
Well, so this art print hopefully will not be affected by porch pirates. Could you imagine if you open this up and you'd be like, holy, what is this person subscribed to?
Steal?
Or maybe we'd suddenly get a flood of porch pirates on Patreon. We could set up a special tier for them.
Maybe.
So yeah, this is the most recent art print. This is Chaos Alice, with her shadow. So I think he called this one Chaos Reigns is the title of this print. And so these will be sent out to all of our patrons who were at a certain level in the month of November. This is the December poster?
Yeah, it's the people who were patrons in November, got charged at the beginning of December, get this,
exactly.
At the higher level.
Yes. So that will get sent out, but we'll send those out in January because we are going to be traveling for the holidays.
We have, it's kind of annoying as well, the amount of preparation for things that have fallen at the wrong time. Mm-hmm. Out of the Woods has just it's just come now at the festive time is coming.
That's why they say when it rains it pours. Why don't we be festive now? We're going to give away another out of the woods. You're going to have to come up with the spam question this time, Martina.
Come up with another name for porch pirates.
Bag bandits.
Bag bandits.
Box banditos. No, box banditos. You can't use bandits twice. Package pirates. Package pilfers or pilferers
again. Yeah.
Amazon absconders.
Gift gobblers.
Anyway, come up with a.
It has to be alliteration.
It needs to be.
It doesn't.
It needs to be funny.
Yeah.
Just be funny and festive. So come up with a better
phrase than gift gobblers.
I think gift gobblers. But wouldn't like gift grabbers work, or gift goblins?
Stocking stealers?
Stocking stealers is good. I like that. Package procurers. That sounds sort of a little too official.
Mail marauders. Terrace thieves.
I like terrace thieves. That's a good one. So the people that win tonight, what are they winning? They're winning what we've been calling Emo Uno.
Yes, that's, we didn't come up with that. Someone else said it, but we thought it was good.
Someone did say that, but in a way it's because we've been kind of like, we borrowed or otherwise stole the general concept of Uno, and we turned it into a card game filled with, hello, you doing okay there? There's a dog coming to visit. Hello.
Lulu's not been on the stream in a long time.
She's not been on the stream for a very, very long time. Are you going to say hi to everybody? There, it's a Lulu. Say Merry Christmas to everybody. Uh-oh, that's not good. She literally wants to bite you.
She does. She's pleasant when I get here in the morning, and then she gets more bitey as the day progresses.
Why do you try to bite Martin? I don't understand. Don't bite Martin. He's your uncle, and he takes care of you.
Don't bite me.
She really gets angry at you. I don't understand it. What's going on? Why are you so angry at Uncle Martin? Doesn't make any sense. He takes care of you. Do you come here to chew on that rabbit?
Is it this?
Oh, that's what it is. She just wants to chew on the rabbit. Okay. Let's just roll the thingy here now. I think Lulu, you're trying to steal the show. Oh, there you go.
Ooh,
colorful core.
Colorful core
has won the giveaway. Lulu brought you some luck. So you have won Emo Uno, aka Out of the Woods.
Well done to you.
And we will ship that to you, but you need to send an email to mysterious@americanmcgee.com. Be sure to include your name, your phone number, your mailing address. Put all that in a format that makes it really easy for us to copy and paste it over to the guys who send the stuff to you. Otherwise, you won't get your prize. No.
Yeah.
What are we going to do with this dog?
I don't know. Burgers?
It is China. It definitely is a thing people do here.
They do.
Yeah, this was another bit of art that came out of the Woods. What was this one from?
It's the Beanstalk card, featuring Jack at the bottom and the giant at the top.
Jack is chopping the giant out of his tree. And that was in the illustrated book. It's the first, I believe it's the first story.
Is it?
In the illustrated book. And the Out of the Woods illustrated book actually tells each of these stories.
Should we go to down cam?
You can try. There it is. So it actually tells the story of each of, obviously it's just a kind of a reprint of the stories. And but at the end of each story, we do this thing we call a takeaway. And the takeaway is essentially mine and RJ's sort of, what was this trying to tell us, and how does it translate sort of to the modern day? The idea behind this was, I think a lot of people have sort of lost. Wait, leave it open. We can read one of those.
I just had it on screen for ages.
I think a lot of people have sort of lost their way because the moral compass that was previously provided by things like organized religion, we've all abandoned because we think, well, God is dead and we don't need God anymore. But fairy tales were around, and people used in some way kind of as another way of saying, well, I don't need God, but I still need my moral compass. So I went through and I basically read the story and I decided, okay, well, what was this trying to tell us? And I mean, one of these that I wrote in here was, don't beat your children. What are you laughing at?
Chat.
What's going on there?
Medical Potato says the description says that Alice Otherlands is finished, yet there are no gameplay videos. America, explain.
Medical Potato, you should perhaps stop eating or smoking or snorting medical potatoes. That would help you a lot. So yeah, anyway, one of the lessons that I wrote here for Jack and the Beanstalk was don't beat your children, because if you do, they'll turn out like Medical Potato. The thing I wrote was this applies to practically everyone who does you wrong. So in other words, don't beat or otherwise physically abuse or punish people who do you wrong, even if they trade your cow for beans, or maybe they traded your cow for medical potatoes. Sit them down, talk to them. Beating, berating, and otherwise abusing others only leads to resentment. Trust stems from respect. Resentment leads to disrespect. It's sort of like
Wise words.
It's a very Yoda-like thing there that's going on. But that was the Jack and the Beanstalk image that came from the Jack and the Beanstalk chapter of the illustrated book. You can, of course, go over to Mysterious now and buy that book.
You can?
Yeah, it's there.
Yeah.
You could also go there and buy the card game as soon as we open it up for sale.
Soon, I imagine.
We should do that.
Yeah.
So Medical Potato, Alice Otherlands. I mean, that's the thing. There is literally a link in the description below, and you can go over to YouTube and watch the videos. You could go to the Kickstarter and you could read what Alice Otherlands was meant to be. At no point ever in the description on the Kickstarter did it say that it was going to be any sort of interactive game.
It's bizarre the amount of people that think that it was. It literally says it nowhere.
It very clearly states that it's going to be a series of animations.
Mm-hmm. Well, doesn't it say it was going to be one animation, but we actually...
well, yeah, it does. It says it's just
two.
Going to be an animation. An animation. And it says here, rendered in 3D animation, Alice Enters Otherlands. And if you read here, it says the pitch, we will work on animated short films inspired by, you will receive at a minimum and see, a lot of people seem to not be clear on the definition of and. And means one, singular. But you'll receive an animated adventure into Otherlands. Beyond that, we may do some other things. The main goal of this was to try to get the rights, the film and TV rights to the Alice property. A lot of people don't know this, but the game rights are separated from the film rights. And so that means that EA controls the game rights, but a company which purchased the film rights controls the film rights. That is not EA. When I ran this Kickstarter, my goal was to purchase from the people who controlled the film rights, and to use those to go and make a film and to make whatever else we could in the sort of linear media space. That would be television and film. That didn't go so well. We had about a year of control of the rights, and in that time we discovered that the people who had licensed or optioned is the Hollywood term for this, that had optioned those rights to us, had optioned the rights to us in a way that was a bit broken or dysfunctional. And so they kind of stood in our way. They got in our way of trying to get this off the ground. And it was unfortunate because we had a director in China. We had Chinese companies who had money who were interested in seeing it made. We had all these things lined up. And then these guys who we'd optioned this from decided, nah, we don't want to let you do that unless you just pay us even more and more and more and more money, to the point where all the people who were involved with the project on the finance side said, yeah, no, those people are mentally deficient and we don't wish to continue trying to pour more money into their pockets. And so everyone had to walk away.
Yeah. Sucks.
Yeah, it does suck. Funny story, though. I still get people calling me from time to time wanting to turn the Alice property into a television or film, a television series or a film. And that actually has happened again recently. And I told them the whole convoluted story. And you never know. They may figure out a way to work it out. We have people now lining up to invest and publish in a new Alice game. That may also lead to us being able to reacquire these rights and build not only a game, but film, television, who knows what.
Who knows what the future will bring.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, so But Alice Otherlands did create a lot of story concept and artwork, and we shipped tons of art and posters all around the world. And
We really did.
yeah, it was pretty crazy.
We did all that ourselves.
We did do that physically. We shipped 3,300 things, essentially, plus. Yeah.
That's a lot of work.
It was a lot of work. The sad thing about this was that of that money that we raised, the 222,000, 100,000 of that went to the rights, the option. And so we only had 100,000 left over. And as you know, how much does it cost to ship 3,000 things around the world?
Probably at least $30,000.
30? No, we're having to spend. I think
3,000 at least
$15 a thingy.
Are we going to a calculator?
Yeah. It's $50,000 in shipping.
Is a killer
Yeah.
for everything we do.
Craziness.
Hate it.
Absolutely crazy. Anyway, I don't know why I went and gave that long ass description of what's going on with Otherlands.
Digressed
But
somewhat. Look at the time.
yeah,
We've done an hour.
time for another contest, and then we're going to.
We need to big up Freaky Fandoms.
We do need to do that. So,
Freaky Fandoms.
You do that. What's going on with Freaky Fandoms?
I didn't read their email today.
Oh boy. Okay, so Freaky Fandoms is run by our friends Deborah and Andrew Hawkins, and they run a podcast where they talk about culture, especially culture of films and games and things that are freaky. Hence the name Freaky Fandoms.
It's a good name.
They are, of course, our largest single sponsor. We do have another sponsor at that level, but he doesn't.
Yeah.
He's sort of undemanding.
A silent partner.
He's a silent sponsor. But Freaky Fandoms, they do I guess you'd call a podcast on a weekly basis where they talk about film and games and all kinds of fun stuff. This week, they're not actually doing a podcast, but they are doing a collaboration with a Four Brains podcast. I think a Four Brains is the name of this other podcast. And there's a poll up where you can vote between the four movies you see on the screen here. Alucarda? Alice, Sweet Alice? Anguish? All the Colors of the Dark. You can vote on one of these, and then that'll be what they cover, I believe, in the next discussion over at A4 Brains.
Have you seen any of those?
I cannot say that I've ever seen. Have you seen any of those?
I have not seen any of those.
Well, there you go. So Freaky Fandoms, again, not only are they wonderful sponsors, but they're also wonderful people, and they run a wonderful podcast, and you can support them over on Patreon. You can listen to them on SoundCloud, and you can follow them on Twitter. All those links are in the description below. So please, if you want to support us, go to support them. They're freaky.
Check it out.
They have a fandom.
They do.
It'll be good.
And while we were doing that spiel, Mamasaurus Super Chats. Thank you for that. Hi. I am such a huge fan of the original Alice game that I named my daughter, who was born back in September, Alice. Scroll back. Thank you for these games.
You're welcome. I like scrolling the chat off the screen while Martin's trying to read it. So, Mamasaurus, thank you for the, is that an Australian $5? A $5.
Or an alien $5.
Could be, but you're very welcome for the games, and that's very sweet that you named your daughter back in September after Alice. And congratulations on having a daughter back in September.
It wasn't that long ago, was it? Congrats.
That was not. That's fantastic. Daughters are good, and daughters named Alice are even better. So, we are actually coming to the point where we're running out of time and we have to run away. I think we've actually looked at all the artwork that we had lined up for today.
Let's have a look.
We've got that Cheshire Cat. We've got the Nutcracker we had a look at. Got all the Alan Woods ready to go. Cards.
Yanny.
Well, so let us do this, because this is going to be our parting advertisement. We are, of course, over on Patreon ourselves, and we are running a goal, a prize, a contest right now where you can get this crazy canvas bag. And when we say it's a canvas bag, we mean it, not like Bethesda.
It's not like a nylon.
Wait a
chonky
second.
old bag.
Did we not?
Yeah, we'll roll it. Should we roll it now?
Faulted Soul.
Altered Soul.
Faulted Soul won the contest. You know, we get tired when it's these
really
live
do.
streams.
We're so old. I've been up since 5 a.m.
He has.
And
He
it's
has
like
to come
8
over here
p.m.
super
now.
early. because he's got stress. He's got jitters.
I like to come here before the traffic builds up.
Yes.
Which means traveling at 6.
So, Faulted Soul, you have won the contest. That means you did get a copy of Out of the Woods. We will mail that to you anywhere in the world, but you do have to email us, mysterious@americanmcgee.com. Be sure to include your name, your address, your phone number, and also mention that you won a copy of Out of the Woods, and we will be sure to send that to you. Do format all that in a way that makes it very easy for us to send it to where you live. And please don't live in Wales, because you guys have got the most broken addresses that the world has ever seen.
Only really if they write it silly.
I don't know. Blade lives in like Barglargdorg. Borkdork.
I went there on holiday once.
Ah, boy. I don't know how you found your way there with an address like that. Anyway, so this is what we're doing over on Patreon right now. Patreon is, of course, where you can be a patron, and for as little as $1 a month, you can pledge, and your money will go to support all the crazy artwork that you're seeing us build here. It also gives you access to our our Discord. Now, of course, you have to be at $5 a month to access Discord, but via Discord, you can do things like join in on our crowd design chats, which we now have probably every week.
I think so.
And we currently have this thing going, a goal set up where you can acquire this bag. But, Martin, what's in that bag?
What's in that bag?
Why don't you show the people what's in that bag? Never mind. You're busy looking at paper. In that bag is this rabbit. So, if you want to get access to this rabbit and help unlock this rabbit for everyone else in the world, please go over to Patreon and subscribe.
Well, that was one of the questions that I had written down here.
Let's do the questions.
You answered it over on Patreon, but let's say it again. This person, Benjamin Kruger, says there isn't a $45 level.
No, there's not a $45
So how do we do it?
You do need to go there, and when you become a patron, your tier is separate from your pledge amount. So you can pledge at $45, but select the $35 tier. So
but the important thing is, you don't even have to do this now.
That's right.
Pledge at $1 per month to help us get the numbers up to reach the goal.
Correct.
Then just up it for the goal month. And then after that's done, do what you want. Stay, go, raise it, lower it. It don't matter.
But that would be how you get this to unlock for everybody. And then everybody gets this mailed to them around the world. So, yeah, it's a rabbit. It's Alice's rabbit. It comes in a bag. The bag is from the Asylum. It's the property bag that they gave her when she was put into the Asylum. And it contains the rabbit. And it says, White Rabbit toy, worn, damaged, burnt. Sans eye. That means without, by the way. It's missing an eye. It's most peculiar, says whoever wrote this.
It's hard to read joined up writing.
Martin, we call this cursive. It's called cursive or script, and that's not even cursive. It's sort of a faux cursive.
Okay.
Patient has formed an unusual bond with item. Patient prone to delusion, rage, hysteria, and violence when coupled with the rabbit. I actually think that ought to said that the patient was prone to those things when decoupled. In other words, the rabbit was removed. But anyway, it says you should exercise extreme caution. This is, of course, the print on the back of the bag. There is a front side of the bag with the Rutledge logo. And, of course, contained within the bag is the
said rabbit.
Said rabbit. He's pretty cool. I really want to get these sent out.
Yeah, let's hit that goal ASAP.
Yeah, there you go. So please do go over and join our Patreon. Of course, the link is in the description below. We are going to do one more contest now because we need to give away 4 things. And then we're going to...
Is that the law? We have to?
It is. It's a YouTube law. If we don't do that, we'll go to jail.
All right.
So you need to spam the chat one more time. You're going to spam the chat with... What are Martin and American having for dinner tonight?
Ooh.
I'd like to know because I'm hungry and it's late. And I'm feeling...
It's almost supper time.
I'm feeling a bit dizzy now. It may be all the wine we drink.
I'm not drinking wine.
What are you drinking?
I'm drinking Vimto.
It's the blood of Christ.
Vimto.
What is Vimto?
You never had Vimto?
Don't know what that is.
Oh, it's delicious.
We're eating wood for dinner, says Anthony. I have to say...
We're eating spam.
I'm really happy to see Morvain Anthony in the chat there. I want to say to Anthony, you are a very interesting cat. Really, honestly, I'm not making that up. He writes some of the most interesting of all the comments that I've ever seen. They're kind of stream of consciousness that I assume speaks to a severe mental disturbance or a sort of brilliance or probably a combination of the two. But he's got a way with words. And when we mentioned that we were going to do this EU stream tonight, he mentioned that he rides a bicycle to work every day. Mm-hmm. He's given up on his car. He lives in France. He's having to look at the nonsense that is the yellow vest revolution, spurred on by this massive taxation on their gas prices, of course, linked to the global warming issue. And he brought up some quite interesting points related to the taxation of the common man versus the taxation of the corporations and the companies that ship all this stuff around the world. And he even said, Donald Trump, oh no, we're going to burn down the internet with this. But he said in some ways Donald Trump has it right because Donald Trump's trying to move production back to the U.S. So you have local production. It doesn't require all these ships going back and forth across the ocean from China to the U.S., which would cut down tremendously on emissions that are contributing to global warming. And instead of taxing people in these countries, perhaps move the production of the products that they consume back to those countries. And so anyway, you've got a revolution going on in France, and I wish you luck, Anthony, and the rest of you jolly Frenchmen.
You put all this in a Patreon post.
Well, it was sort of the spirit of it. I thought it was cool. He actually did. Have you not seen his Patreon posts?
No, I did see a big paragraph from Anthony Morvan, but I cast my eye over it and I didn't see suggestion or question highlighted.
I would say that become a patron, and if for no other reason, so you can read the incredibly interesting and convoluted and creative, insightful posts of this very Anthony Morvan that we have in the chats here.
All right.
I'm not being facetious, by the way. I'm being very genuine about this. You know this. You know I like his comments. I just don't know how to respond to them.
You're a busy man.
I am. So
roll it.
We are gonna roll it and up. Look at that.
Nightbot heard us.
Nightbot is amazing. That was incredible. I swear that was not planned or intentional.
Nobody's going to believe that.
They aren't going to believe that. I just spent all this time bigging him up, and then Nightbot was like, Anthony. All right, Anthony, you know the drill. mysterious@americanmcgee.com. Send your address, your name, your phone number, and mention that you won miraculously. Nightbot loves you. Miraculously won a copy of Out of the Woods. We will send that to you from China on one of those boats that you don't like. So there you go. Congratulations, Anthony. That was amazing. Well, that was a fantastic tie-up and ending to the episode today.
Yeah.
All right. We will be back next week. There will be another crowd design. Maybe.
We may be back next week.
All right. Well, there'll be another crowd design session on Tuesday, I believe.
Yes.
We're going to go through another page of the Asylum wiki, which I still have not been able to get to load.
But at the weekend, we're going to have a good old ponder about if there's going to be a stream.
This is correct.
Or if this is indeed the last stream of 2018.
It may be. So if it is the last stream of 2018, let us wish you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Yes. Don't get too drunk.
Do get drunk. What do you mean don't get too drunk? Get very drunk. The world's going to hell in a handbasket. Why not? All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Love you all. Hope you all have a wonderful holiday. If we don't see you back again this year, we will be back next year.
Yeah. Final super chat from Colorful Core. My last dollar. I hope it's not literally your last dollar.
No.
But thank you for that anyway.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Colorful Core. We hope that you're having a nice night down there in New Zealand. No, it's not the last stream ever, Truth Decay. It's just the last stream of this year.
Listen.
Yeah. It's not the last stream ever.
We'll be back in 2019.
And with all new art and toys and fun stuff. And I'm probably going to come back with footage from Thailand where we're going to build a new studio. So, yay, there's that.
Excellent.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. Love you all. Have a good holiday. We will see you again soon or next year.
Bye-bye.